Now
And
we're
now
live.
we're live. Now we're live.
Now we're live. Now.
We were talking just before we went live, and Nico's like, "No, you had to call me
Hold
out.
on. Yeah,
You needed an
100%.
audience, eh? Okay, let's do it.
No, I need to expose the lefties on this one because
Well,
I know where
let's,
you're because I know where you're
take
going
your
with
best shot.
this, and
Okay.
I know where you're going
let's
with
get them
this,
up
right?
let's get them up to speed here on what we're talking about.
That's why. Do you see what's on the screen?
Let's get them up to
Do you
speed on
see
your
what's on
pink
the
shirt,
screen?
first of all. I believe that shade is called Quebecois pink.
Sure. Quebecois
Yeah,
pink, homosexual, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't care.
Same. No,
I
actually like
love
the shirt.
my.
It's a good.
There's
shade.
nothing like a very tattooed, muscular guy wearing a fucking pink shirt.
I've been saying that for years. Is muscles in a pink shirt, people don't know what to do. They don't know what to think about it. So it's a good look. I'm a fan.
What's funny is that when I was fighting, all of my gear, my shin pads, my gloves are all pink. Everything I wore was bright pink. My shorts were bright pink. And I've had so many guys pass comments saying how gay I looked. And
lull them into a false sense of security, eh?
You just look fucking gay. And you know, my answer has always been the same. What's worse, fighting in pink shorts or getting your ass kicked by a dude that's wearing
just
pink
kicked
shorts?
your ass, bro.
So,
all right. So let's.
This was not on the topic. But this was not on the topic. This is not something we're going to bring up, but we need to talk about this because this to me is fucking hilarious. But just before we jumped on the live, Rob and I were talking, and I saw a post on my Instagram feed, which is always important to confirm what the internet is telling you. It's because it's not because it's on the internet that it's fucking true, right? So I saw a post on my Instagram saying that Dodge has already saved $64 billion of taxpayers' money, and that Tucker Carlson, Elon Musk were at the White House right now partying, like being happy with big MAGA hats. Sounded weird, looked weird, so I called it up. I looked, and honestly, they did not up to now.
Saved. That seemed more real than the big MAGA hats. That's what made it feel fake to me.
But 64 billion, I'm like, it would have been everywhere. I haven't seen this anywhere. And I was looking at what Elon Musk was posting just this morning and I didn't see it. But we learned something. I did not realize that there was such a thing as a Dodge clock. But there is. This is what we're seeing right now. If you go to dodgegov.com, DOGEGOV.com/Dodge clock, that's what you see. So you're seeing in real time what Elon Musk's led department has saved the American public. But what's interesting is not that's awesome though. Don't get me wrong. $32 billion is a lot of money. And as you can tell, they still have 512 days to do this. So who knows how much money they're going to save. But where Rob and I started talking and I'm like, yep, no, we need to start recording this because I think this is a massive misconception that a lot of people have, not just the left, but especially the left. So carry on, continue saying what you were talking about.
Well, so we were talking about the number, what was it, 32 billion, which is quite large. And you had said, well, that shows, I think that shows the corruption in government. And I didn't even say that's wrong. I said, yeah, it also shows the inefficiency. And this is where you thought you had a big gotcha right here. You thought you had a kill coming.
I don't think I know. It's not the same.
Okay,
thing.
let's hear your take, and then I'll explain why you're wrong.
But there's no such thing. Government is not inefficient. They're simply corrupt. They just don't care. Because, you know, I use in my last work as a sales engineer for one of the biggest telecommunication company in Canada, which I worked for 3 of the biggest ones in Canada. One of the customers that I had on almost every single job is the federal government and provincial government, municipal governments. So I got to deal with them directly trying to sell them services. And I know their policies. I know the way they operate. And one of the things that was constant, it did not matter which department, did not matter if it was municipal, provincial / state or the federal level. they had a certain amount of money. They had a budget that they needed to spend. So at the end of their calendar year, they will overspend if they still have money.
If they don't spend
left,
it's gone, and so
they're going to lose it. Exactly. So they're corrupt. This is not being inefficient. They're simply corrupt. They know exactly what they're doing. They just don't want to lose that money, even if they're not using it, because it's very easy to do that when the money doesn't belong to you. Because see it this way, and this is why Dodge is so important, because governments are the only entities in the world that do not produce money for themselves. The only reason they have money is through taxation. They literally tax people in order to have budget to spend it on shit that often does not matter. But this is it. I understand what you mean by inefficient, but to me, calling it inefficient is, what's the word I should use here? Is gullible. You're being innocent. Like you're trying to give them credit as to, I'm gonna try. I don't want to necessarily call it what it is. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But I think we've seen it time and time again, and it doesn't matter that it's Canada, the US, Europe, name the country. They are corrupt. They're not. USAID is showing us that they're corrupt. They're not inefficient. They're corrupt, because a lot of that money, there's numbers that are starting to come back as to those politicians that are pushing that shit is coming back, just like with Ukraine, right? It's being sent over there, and somehow it comes back in their pockets. So it's corruption. It's not.
You might almost say it's been laundered. You could say it comes back a little cleaner.
It's not. You could say. That is the exact term to describe it.
Well,
so
there's
that
a
one
hint
we agree on.
Wink yeah. So yep. I mean, I actually, I mean, with the way you explained it there, I mean, I feel like in some ways we're sort of debating definitions. Like I see that as I see that as inefficiency. I see that as inefficiency. That what you described there, for sure, there is what I would also call corruption. But that process you described, how departments have, they have a budget and they will spend it, because if they don't, they lose it. I mean, I don't really say that's corruption. I guess it depends what they spend it on. But I mean, this 32 billion, I would like to see exactly sort of how that was actually cut. I'm going to assume there's probably hundreds of billions of either outright corruption or just inefficiency. I kind of take issue to the word naive or gullible. I'm fully aware that corruption exists. I guess I subscribe to the saying, you don't necessarily need to chalk up to malice what could be chalked up for incompetence. But like you said, if that is your definition of corruption, then yes, I agree. There's a lot of corruption out there.
Well, you know what? Incompetence, inability to do something successfully, inaptitude. This is not inaptitude.
That works.
They know exactly what they're doing. This is the thing. I think that when it comes to incompetence, at least anybody that's on the feed, correct me if I'm wrong, tell me what you think, but I believe that there is a component of being a bit unaware that you are. It's all about purpose, right?
There's corruption smacks different. It hits different. But it suggests you are aware and you're just corrupt as shit.
That is exactly how I'll say it. Maybe corruption is not the best word, although I will say it plainly. I believe governments are corrupt as hell. USAID is showing it to us. But is that because they were also saying that they fired thousands and thousands of people through Dodge already? So are those people all corrupt?
And they're all crying on Twitter. Every one of them is posting on Twitter. Most of them are purple-haired.
The funniest part about this, I saw a meme. I should have saved it, but there was a meme this morning on X, paraphrasing obviously, but it was saying something along the lines of, people are outraged that Dodge is firing a bunch of people, yet they didn't have any problems firing people for not taking a vaccine. I'm like,
that's a good point.
Those are the same people, right? The same people that are crying because they're losing their jobs made me lose my job, or put back me in a corner where I lost my job instead of taking a vaccine. It's just ironic, right? It's the same people that cried are still crying. They're still fucking crying. They're always going to cry. They're always going to be bitching about something because it's never going to be enough. So
I think one thing we can agree on, whether it is incompetence or corruption, it should
incompetence. Is that a new word?
There's no place for like no. If we're talking about whether it's whatever, if someone's finding quote unquote inefficiency or there is incompetent, like an incompetent government official, it has no place in the government just as bad as a corrupt one, right? Maybe the difference is maybe you charge the corrupt one with a crime, and that's another thing. But if we're just talking, if you have a role in the government, whether you're incompetent or corrupt, I think we can agree that you should not. I mean, clearly 100%. They do, but they should not.
That it's a good place to start. We're just 10 minutes in. We already agreed on something. I'm going to have to go grab an extra microphone just so I can drop it sometimes.
Yeah, we'll have
microphone drop. But that's good. So what we got today, we're being very hopeful today. We have a lot of topics we wanted to talk about. Not sure it's going to happen. I would love for it to happen, but let's see what happens. Let's see. We're 10 minutes in. Bro, 11 minutes in, we haven't even started to talk about what we wanted to talk about.
We're getting more
not
efficient.
Even part of it.
We're quite inefficient with our topics.
It's not the topics we're inefficient with, is our time. But I think that's okay because it's Friday. We said that we could go as long as we feel we should go. It's not going to be an hour like Monday to Thursday. But today there's a few things. So we want to talk about Trump's new plan on we want to talk about the Trump plan about Gaza. We want to talk about Senator Fetterman calling out his own party. AOC's claim that the U.S. survived COVID because of illegal immigrants. If you don't know who Ashley Allison is, you're going to laugh your fucking ass off because this is a comedic video that I found this morning and we need to talk about it. She basically proves why, by trying to praise DEI, she shows us why it does not work. We will talk about something we brought up yesterday because we might as well toot our own horns when we can. How the NCAA, one day after Trump's executive order banned trans athletes, and hopefully we got time for this. This is my wheelhouse. This is something I feel strongly about, but I want to ask you guys, especially, I want to ask the people that are listening to this. I want to ask you, Rob, about this video I found this morning of a cop interaction with a criminal in Waterloo, Canada. I want you guys to see this. I want you guys to tell me what you think, because to me, cops are doomed. It does not matter what they do. They're always wrong. Like, no matter what, they're always going to be portrayed as wrong. And this video is the perfect example, because I agree that he was wrong in that video, but either way, let's keep it for the end.
Are we going to start with that, or do you want to leave that for the end?
No, we'll leave it at the end, because I'd like the people that are listening to actually give their opinion. So let's start with Trump. Surprisingly, because this podcast should be called
Where else?
Political Orphans and Trump News.
Yeah.
This. Where did I put this?
We're basically
go for it.
I was just gonna say we're like I don't know if you're familiar with I think it's Charles Dickens, the please, sir, may I have some more? Like it's a famous scene, and he's an orphan, right? That's us to Trump. Give us, sir, more content. And he always does.
He is making it very easy for us to create content. That's for damn sure. So this week, I thought it was on Wednesday, 2 days ago, because we talked about that with our friend Jason on Wednesday, about how Trump announced on Tuesday night that he will be somehow taking over Gaza. Somehow he will turn, it sounded like he's going to turn Gaza into a
Trump resort and casino.
I was trying to find a resort. Let's call it a resort, because that's how he called it. Hey, sorry, he didn't call it that way. That's how it sounded. It sounded like this is going to become a resort destination. It's like, okay, Gaza, the next Club Med. That's what it sounded like. So this is a post that he made yesterday morning, and it's very interesting. So the Gaza Strip would be turned over to the United States by Israel at the conclusion of fighting. The Palestinian people like Chuck Schumer should already been resettled in a far safer and more beautiful communities with new and modern home in the region. They would actually have a chance to be happy, safe, and free. The U.S., working with great development teams all over the world, would slowly and carefully begin the construction of what would become one of the greatest and more spectacular development of its kind on Earth. No soldiers by the U.S. would be needed. Stability for the region would reign.
What could
I
go
have
wrong?
a lot of. So what comes up? Like, let me ask you this, because
Yes.
when you sent me this this morning, I'm like, okay, let's break it down. I like to break stuff down proportion and review it for what it says. So when I look at this, I got a few questions, right?
Oh, yeah. There's a few.
First and foremost, the Gaza Strip would be turned over to the United States by Israel. Israel does not own.
It is not. Yeah. So right away, there's some questions.
Like what the fuck? They don't own the Palestine. It's supposed to be a sovereign nation.
He's doing this weird diplomacy thing where he's sort of living in a world that doesn't exist. You know, he's making diplomatic solutions based on a reality that is not real. Like you said, it is not Israel's. Even Israel is not laying claim to it. Israel's, you know, there's literally nobody who says that is Israel. I don't know how he's going to do it. He's got basically the entire world opposed to him. You've got all of Europe. I haven't seen Canada say anything. Not that it matters what we say, but I suspect they're just waiting this one out. I think we're still smarting from the tariffs, and I think we're just happy to hide out in the back. But Europe is not impressed. All of the Arab states, even the ones that are weirdly pro-Israel, like Saudi Arabia has had quite and the UAE have had quite I would say, Israel slant in the past couple of years that is not typical of the Gulf states. Nobody's happy with it right now. But you keep going, deconstruct this. I've got a few things that sort of jumped out to my mind, but I like where you're going with this. Let's keep going.
The other part, it's still in this first fucking sentence, at the conclusion of fighting. This I found very interesting because as per what we're being told, see, there's a ceasefire right now between the two, and they're supposed to, all the information I could find this morning was showing that they are attempting to have a negotiation. They're gonna have international moderators or people that will drive the conversation. But the goal, as per what I've known for the past 3 weeks to a month, Israel and the Gaza Palestine were under a ceasefire. So I kind of don't like that mention. Like, what does that mean? Conclusion.
I feel like that's just Trump kind of not really thinking or being a bit not super precise with his words. That's what I take that.
I'm very careful. You've noticed up to now, I will correct the words that I use. Even if it's 2 sentences later, I say, you know what, that's not the proper word. I analyze what people say to the word, and it matters. And I try my best.
It especially matters when you're the president.
My point exactly. So if I think it matters for me, imagine to which standard I hold somebody like the president of the United States. So I will always deconstruct the word. If you send me a text, you send me an email, you show me something, I will always deconstruct it. And that part bothers me at the conclusion of fighting. Like, I thought this was pretty much done. I thought, that's something that Trump beat his chest over even before he became president. It's after the inauguration, like, he started getting involved and saying, bitches, you guys better fall in line or else when I become president. And it seems that the ceasefire happened. That was not a Biden thing, right? That was a Trump thing prior to becoming president. So I find it very interesting that he phrased it that way. Then, you have the Palestinian, like, people like Chuck Schumer, and
Chuck
then he goes
Schumer,
blah
I'm
blah
not sure
blah.
what he
But
means there.
not sure either. But all I'm hearing right now is that they will be resettled in a far safer and more beautiful communities with new modern homes in the regions. What the fuck does
So I
that
mean,
mean?
what
Where are they
I mean,
sending? Because
that
he
just
hasn't
sounds
answered that
like
question.
that just sounds like snake oil salesman. That mean to me, I read that as either there's no plan whatsoever yet to deal with them, or they are just going to be thrown into a barren piece of land in Jordan somewhere and forgotten about. If I were the Palestinian people, I'd be very concerned with this. It's pretty clear to me that if there's a large overarching plan, the current members of the Palestinian people, the 2 million people that live there, are not a part of it. Unless maybe they have a little section that's divvied out where they can sort of like the ghetto for them, where they're just become, servants for all the wealthy global elites that I think this project is actually for.
It's hard not to believe that that's the case. It's very hard not to believe that that's the case. And like Jason said on Wednesday, he lived in New York, and that's something that happened in New York quite a few times.
Yeah,
where
gentrification, he called it. Essentially, it's geopolitical gentrification, if you want to call it that.
It's like taking a ghetto in a very, very big city where that the buildings are not worth the space that they're on, and you're kicking the people out. You're literally raising the rent so high that people can't afford it. You kick them out, and then you smash everything and you rebuild and you attract people with more money. This is what it sounds like. This is what it fucking sounds like.
It puts the entire last, I don't know, year or whatever this war has been going on. It sounds like everything that the pro-Palestine crowd was saying is correct. This is not, getting hostages back. This is not about defending yourself after October 7th. This is something else. Or
it could just be that they took advantage of the attacks.
It could be.
Because once again, one of my buddies used to say that all the time, because it's easy to see conspiracies everywhere.
Yeah, that's right.
So you got to be careful. And as somebody that loves,
it's like after 9/11, how Dick Cheney had that plan all ready to go to head into Iraq, and then he used 9/11.
Don't get me started on.
Oh, 9/11. I know.
This is a rabbit.
Yeah,
but the point,
as I was saying that, I was like, oh shit.
But what I'm saying is, we can see it two ways. You could see a big conspiracy where Biden was on it, where BB was on it, that was all planned. They were just waiting for the next attack in order to start doing this. And I don't know that it's that big of a conspiracy theory that Israel, at least the leaders of Israel, were waiting.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know that he I don't know that he needed to wait for it. I think he did decide after October 7th that fuck these guys. I think he just decided.
Oh, well, there's no doubt about that.
I'm going to wipe them the fuck out. Whether that was a pre-planned thing, I don't know. But
the point is, and like I said on Wednesday, I sit somewhere in the middle. Hamas is wrong. There's a lot of things that Israel's doing that's wrong. They're both wrong. On each side, they're wrong. It's very strange to see Trump so involved in this. And it's hard to see anything good. It's very hard for me right now to look at this and say, this is totally normal that the US is going to take over a foreign country that does not even belong to the people Trump seems to state that it belongs to. Then he's saying that he's going to take the people that actually lived there before. And I don't care that you agree or disagree if they should be there. They should be there or not. We're going to move those people to one of the most beautiful and safest place in the world. Why not reconstruct for them while they're there? They're going to have a chance to be happy, safe, and free. Awesome. You know what? Nobody can disagree with that. But I always think about somebody promising me safety. You're selling me something that I am not going to like. you are trying to sell me something under the guise of, but it's for your own good. We will protect you. Yeah, bullshit. There's something going on here. And I don't like the fact that the US is working with great development teams from all over the world. How can you be already working on this when it's under UN international law? It is illegal. What they're even talking about here is illegal. So it's very weird. It's just very weird. Very weird to see this. We don't have enough. This is the most defined, like even on the press conference on Tuesday night, this is precise compared to his tap dancing that he went on trying to not answer questions. But this is not precise. This sounds like I just don't like it. I cannot like this. I just don't like it.
No, I mean, I don't think, well, you're not alone. I don't think anybody likes it. It doesn't sound like Netanyahu loves it, sitting there with a shit-eating grin during that speech. But I don't think anyone else does. And I don't know how, like you said, it is illegal according to UN. I don't think Trump gives two shits about that. And, you know, I also don't think his base gives two shits about what the UN has to say about anything. If you are a fan of international law, you definitely have to be very concerned, because it doesn't sound like he's got any allies in this. It is sort of it's sort of bewildering what exactly he's doing. You know, like you pointed out in that clip, it isn't Israel's to give. And so even right there, like that's not just a little, like, you know, where he said when the fighting is done, blah, blah, blah. Like maybe he just wasn't being precise with his words. But the other one where he says, you know, Israel will give this to the United States. That's not just imprecise with words. That is fundamentally misreading the entire situation. So right away, you know, we've got some major questions. I'm going to take a slightly different tact on this. I think I'm with you in your bewilderment. I think it's too early. Bewilderment. I don't know what he's doing. And in some ways, as a geopolitical sort of fanboy, I'm intrigued. I am, you know, there's something in some ways. I won't get to that yet. I think it's too early to criticize him and too early to praise him, because we just don't know. We need to see where it's going. Now, I'll point out a couple things that I do like. He has essentially, with this move, broken the stalemate in Palestine, Israel, because after October 7th, it's quite clear there was never a two-state solution was never going to happen. That's out the water, or that's out the window. You know, if you want to go back, like you said, there is blame to be had on both sides. If you want to go back to the 90s, Bill Clinton, I think it was the Dayton Accords, and the people can correct me if I'm wrong, but basically he had hammered out a fairly decent two-state solution in the 90s with Yasser Arafat and maybe Ariel Sharon. I don't know who was Israel's leader at the time, but it was essentially what Palestine has been crying for the last 5 to 10 years, and they said no to it. I don't know enough to know why. I'm sure there was corruption involved, especially the fact that Arafat, when he died, he was worth like $4 or $5 billion. That's slightly shady.
Coincidence.
And obviously yeah. It's just incompetence. It's just inefficient. Very inefficient. Inefficient use of $8. If we want to be naive. However, but once October 7th happened, actually, before I get there, like you said, there's blame to go around on both sides. I do think Israel shares the lion's share, or has the lion's share, because they are the big kid. You know, they're the bully. They're the ones that have the power. So if you're looking at a fight, if you have like a giant, strong kid on the playground and him and a little kid are duking it out and they're both going at each other, maybe they've both done things wrong. It's my take that the bigger one has more responsibility to put a stop to it. So that's my take on that. But as you said, it's gone back and forth so many times. And then October 7th, it just made it.
They're both in the wrong. They're both in the wrong.
Yeah, you're right.
The
two-state solution was off the table once October 7th happened. So now that is just the reality. Now we can spend as much time as we want talking about how we got to that place. As far as, I don't see that super productive right now. Right now, we need to look at what happens when we go forward. Trump has for all the bewilderment about this move here, he has correctly identified that there is a stalemate and an unsolvable solution, and he's essentially thrown a wild card in. I have heard, I saw, I forget who it was. I think it was Scott Adams on Twitter say something interesting. And you're probably familiar with this as a Bible scholar. He said, this is Trump's cut the baby in half moment. Are you familiar with the story with Solomon? When the two women that came to him and said they both had ownership of the baby. They both said, this is my baby. And Solomon was, of course, famous for his wisdom. And so he said, yeah, okay, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll cut the baby in half, and each of you will take a half of the baby. And of course, one woman said, yeah, that's a great plan, Solomon. And the other one said, no, don't do that.
Give it to her. Give it to her.
And of course, Solomon took that to say, this is the mother, right? Super wise, great guy.
He was the wisest man that ever lived.
Wisest.
Yeah. Wisest. Yeah. Wisest.
And I think he showed it in that parable. And it was said that this is Trump's cut the baby in half moment. He essentially, like Solomon, he saw that there was a stalemate, and he introduced an unpalatable option to sort of force the other to reveal themselves. And if this is what he is doing, then I can support that. If this is a cut the baby in half moment for Donald Trump, I can support that, especially if it gets. Essentially, it has changed the calculation. All the players now know the status quo is no longer valid. They know that someone has to do something. So, if I were the Arab leaders, instead of just tearing their hair out and say, "Oh, Trump this, Trump that," what I would do is I would accept the diagnosis, debate the prescription. I think the diagnosis is this is an unfixable problem. And there's nothing to do. There's nothing that you can do to fix it. Now, if you don't like Trump's solution of, bulldozing it, redeveloping, putting the Trump Tower in there, and kicking 2 million Palestinians out into the desert, well, then that's fine. Give us something else. Give us something to work with. I think you can't just kick 2 million people out. It's not going to work. Now, what you could maybe do is try to get that number down lower, maybe offer, because I've been doing a lot of research. I've been seeing what everyone is saying, but also what Palestinians are saying. There are some that are saying, this is our homeland. We're not going anywhere. Fuck you. And that's valid. There's also some who are saying, I want out. I don't want any part of this. This is rubble. What are we going home to? And so I think that all the Arab people who have been, or all the Arab neighboring countries who have been, beating the drum on this and, on the side of the Palestinians, now's the time to put your money where your mouth is. Shut up, or, put up or shut up, and open your doors. Say, okay, let's accept all the Palestinians who want to leave, give them places within the Arab world, because that's their, that's their culture. It doesn't make sense for the West to take them. I mean, maybe a couple individual cases, but if we're talking 500,000 people, 1 million people, they have to go to the Arab world. And now's the time for the Arab world to put their money where their mouth is. You've been talking about how much you care about the Palestinian people. Now's your time to show it. I'm a little skeptical, considering, have you ever seen the border between Egypt and Gaza? That's something that, like, people,
they're not going to let people go.
That is highly, highly secure. Like, MAGA could never dream for a border like that on the southern border. That's highly secure. So I'm a little skeptical.
MAGA wet dream. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So if you can get that number down to 1 million Palestinians, 500 Palestinians, that we're talking. Now you could redevelop that. And also, because at the end of the day, there has to be something for an international consortium who's going to redevelop it. They're not going to put 20, 30, 40 billion dollars into it to redevelop it just so all the Palestinians can have lovely homes. They're going to have to get something out of it. And that's just the way the world works. So there's going to have to be some international playground for the elites. And if you can get that number of Palestinians down, there can also be space for them. But right now, I don't know how you keep 2 million people and do what Donald Trump is. is suggesting. But at the end of the day, if you don't like Donald Trump's, everyone's got to agree with his diagnosis. If you do not agree, if you don't want to accept his prescription, give us something else. What's your take? Sort of, it's your move, fellas.
This is what I want to believe that's happening. This is, like I said on Tuesday, and you take the tariff that he tried to put on Canada and Mexico and a lot of other countries. I always saw that as a negotiation tactic. Maybe that's why the plan is so unclear. Maybe that's why he avoided the questions, that he just became one of the best tap dancers in the world, and he posts things like that just to keep it in mind of people, because he's doing so much right now that it's hard to keep track what the fuck Trump is working on. So for all we know, that's what he's doing. Is that what I hope he's doing? Yes. I just don't know. I don't like it, but if it's a great example to say that it is the split the baby in two, just like Solomon did. And like, if you guys are a fan of Seinfeld,
when he said that, I thought that was great.
But I'm a fan of Seinfeld. They did the same with a bicycle. We will split it in half. So either way, if that's what he's doing, great. Fucking awesome. As you're saying this, I'm like, oh shit, that's what they were. Yeah, but
split if that's the bicycle in half.
If that's what he's doing, congratulations, bro. The stalemate is done. You're absolutely right on that.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to wait and see what is actually going on. But if it is a negotiation tactic, like the first, if that is a negotiation tactic, good for him. Now,
let's wait and see.
Hey, Jason, can you watch the
friend of the show?
Yeah, but can you watch the fucks? Like, what the fuck, man? Stop swearing even in your comments. What's going on? So Jason's saying that this fucker does not have money for East Palestine, but money for Palestine. His America First supporters must be livid. And you know,
so
this
East Palestine, he's referring to a neighborhood here in the United States, of course. Very clever.
Jason's not an idiot. He looks like one, but he definitely is not one.
No, he's smarter than he looks. He's smarter than he looks.
And I love that I can actually make fun of him because he can't really do shit. But he's right. He's absolutely right, because I made this very clear multiple times, and I'll say it again because I will never change on this opinion. Make America great again means make America great again. I
think that's why
Canada great again. Exactly. So it kind of baffles me that his supporters don't seem to be that much pissed off about what he's doing now.
Well, you think they should be more? They should be more pissed off.
I think so. Personally, I think so. I just don't understand why the fuck he's getting involved. That's the part that bothers me. Like, why is he even involved in this? Because even if he is playing Solomon's role here and he's splitting the baby in half, why is he even getting involved? Why is this his problem? What is it going to change on a day-to-day base of an American or a North American that he's doing that? Why?
Yeah.
There's something else going on. When I look at this, it smells funny. It smells funny. It tastes funny. And when something's too good to be true, it's fucking not. I know that. So something's going on here.
Like, looks like a duck, sounds like a duck, probably a duck kind of thing. I think you're right. I think it's going to require Jason. I have symptoms of intelligence.
Jason's saying that he has symptoms of intelligence, but then he follows up with this. East Palestine is in Ohio. They're suffering right now, and the Muslim population there voted for Trump percentage-wise.
That's an interesting move. But like broadly speaking, Jason's point is an American first point. Why are we even bothering over
we agree
there? And it is hard. It's hard to argue with that. That doesn't even seem partisan to me. I don't know how it got that point. I think even the term America First has become loaded, but it doesn't really need to be. To me, that's just common sense. Of course, you should put your own citizens first. And when people see, and all it does is just, even if you believe that we should be spending billions of dollars to Ukraine, or intervening over there in the Gaza conflict the way that Trump is, it just, a lot of people just don't like the look of, it undermines trust and confidence in the government. And that is something that is at an all-time low right now. And you have to wonder why. Like, why? When you see all the things that they spend money on, vets living in the streets. You've got, I believe Flint still has, trash
A water
water
problem
that is making people sick. Yeah, like and those are just examples off the top of my head, but there's probably, if you really want to do the research, probably come up with hundreds of these, and people don't understand it. And this is the stuff that feeds, the far right MAGA. So even if you're not, even if you're opposite of that, you should also be very concerned about these things. I think what you said about his base, why they're not more fired up. I think there's a certain amount of cult stuff going on. I think he's got a shit ton of political capital right now. But I also think if he goes down this route and just involves America in another forever war, or something goes wrong, the way he's talking about it, like it's so easy. Like, this is literally probably the most difficult geopolitical issue in human history, or one of them, at least in modern memory.
Modern history.
The way he talks about it as if it's so easy is itself a bit of a worry. But I think he's going to expand an enormous amount of his political capital if he wants to go down this route. And like you said, it is, why is the big question. But I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll definitely find out. But I still hope that it is just that, trying to cut the baby in half. He's just
posturing,
trying to propose a solution that is so ludicrous that people are gonna have to do something.
That's what he's doing.
Hold on, like, what the fuck are you saying here? Like, hold on.
If that's what he is doing, and it works out. If
that's what he's doing,
I mean,
bravo.
He's going to be in the Nobel Prize discussion for real. I mean, I know he's thought been in discussion. He's been talking about that for years. I don't think anyone else really thinks that he should be, but like, you'd have to give credit where it's due. If that is what he's doing, and it leads to some form of a peace, I mean, to take the situation he inherited, which was essentially hopeless. At the end of the day, it was hopeless a week ago. You know what I mean? It's not hopeless anymore. So there's a lot of potential bad scenarios, of course, but there are also some potential good ones where there wasn't a week and a half, 10 days ago. So stay tuned.
Let's move on, if we shall, to something that I found this morning, because that guy kind of puzzles me. Like Senator Fetterman, I used to really dislike him, and I was looking at him as somebody that wore a suit for almost 15 years. I was like, bro, why the fuck do you dress like you're a hobo?
That's a suit.
Like you literally dress like a hobo.
That's a suit.
And now
I know, I get the whole, like, oh, I'm different. I'm a different kind of cat, but motherfucker, you're a U.S. senator. Have a little bit of decorum.
It's bothered me, but now I'm the guy wearing a pink shirt, so it's not that big of a deal.
It works for him. His wife is easy on the eyes. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's not because he has a lot of money, right? That's because he's probably really charmful. Either way. Why do you hate women, Nick?
Yeah.
Why do you hate women so much?
It is funny how it got to that point. Just acknowledging someone's attractive means you hate women. It's like, what the fuck? How do we get here? Of course it's not true. That's the opposite, in fact.
You're so judgmental. You think women are just are just beautiful creatures that we get to strap to the kitchen stove.
Yeah, it's like, I recognize physical attraction. It does not mean that I think that's all that they are. Like, where did you come up with this? This is ridiculous. You want to play that clip?
You're getting pretty good at this, huh? You're learning from Trump on that one, huh? Dodging some questions.
The tap dancing.
That's why.
Let's roll it. Roll the tape.
Let's roll a video that I was reading the transcript this morning, and especially for the lefties on this show, listen to this. Tell me what you think of Senator Fetterman.
Is the Democratic Party viewed as toxic by so many? Like, even people inside the party acknowledge that.
I think their primary currency was shaming and scolding and talking down to people and telling them, hey, I know better than you, or you're dopes, or you're a bro, or you're ignorant, or, don't you, how can you be this dumb? I can't imagine it. Like, and then, by the way, they're fascists. How can you vote for that? And when you're in a state like Pennsylvania, like, I know and I love people that voted for Trump, and they're not fascists. They don't support insurrection and those things. And if you go to an extreme and you become a boutique kind of a proposition, then you're going to lose the argument, and then we have done that. When I show up at like a working site, I can all but guarantee you, if they're politically engaged, who they vote for, why they would vote there, and they just think they want to identify with people that seem to be looking out for me. Or for me, I described the 24 election was not about obscure kinds of policies. It's a gut check kind of vote. And they are going to ask themselves, who is going to protect or project my personal view of the American way of life? And who's the better match for what I believe is the American way of life? And I'm going to vote for that person. And that's why I think Trump won. And then, like, for example, the new leadership of the DNC, the vice chair, abolish ICE. And now the other thing saying, defund the police and those things. I'm concerned that we really haven't paid attention on what happened, and have we looked up at the scoreboard and been like, oh, by the way, we've lost.
How do Democrats win back white men like yourself?
I don't know, and truthfully, I'm not sure if that's possible, to be honest. I think that's been seriously eroding for a while. And in some cases, in the conversations I've had, a lot of people, they don't even want to say it publicly, but they just feel like, the other side seems like it's like men, that men's the problem, men are to blame, or their masculinity is toxic, or unless you're able to conform to our very strict kinds of definition of what we think's appropriate, well then, hey, I'm going to find an alternative, and they've done that. That's absolutely true. And once we've kind of turned their back on that demographic, it's going to be difficult to rebuild and replace that with those voters, because I think that migration has been ongoing phenomenon for several years, and that was been in front and center, in part of the election in 24.
I had to take note because there's a lot of things that he said on there that we need to look. I think we should address. First,
a lot of truth bombs.
He's basically blaming the Democrats for making Republicans sound like extremists, and the mistake that they made is not realizing that they have gone so far left that anything that was middle thinking is now considered far right. This is the problem that the Democrats, but it's a problem. It is an extreme. Like they've put people like you.
Biggest problems.
It is the biggest problem, is that they went so far left that people like you and I, no matter the media, no matter the central spectrum on which we sit on, felt that you're calling me an actual extreme right winger when I'm a libertarian by nature. Like, I cannot be more in the middle than what I believe, because I'm from Canada, bro. There's social things that I agree with. There's some I don't. There's some from the right I agree with. Some I don't. So I don't do tribal politics. I never have, never will, because there's no political party that represents me anywhere. So that being said, I'm happy to say that's why I was saying before we played the clip that I used to dislike him on his attitude. I did not like the way he presented himself. But if he continues speaking like that, he is going to become a very important figure for the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party needs to shut the fuck up and start listening to what he's saying, because he is bang on.
Yeah.
He is absolute. Everything he said in there, outside of, there's a few things that I don't agree with him, as in he's not really addressing the real problem. But everything that he said in there, I can agree with to a certain degree. He hasn't said anything false in there. Just stuff needs to be defined in better, like more precisely, I feel. You tell me, what do you think about Fetterman? About his statement?
So
especially?
I thought everything in there was bang on. He absolutely correctly addressed or assessed a lot of the major problems that exist within the Democratic Party. You know, like she said, how do we win white people back, especially white men? And he probably accurately said, I don't know how. I don't know if it's even possible right now. And the fact of the matter is, I mean, it is still a majority white country. You know, we talked yesterday about Democrats committing political malpractice. This is another example of it. They have absolutely demonized white men, especially white men. And you know, this is what me, you, and Jason talked about, I think, a week ago today, his first time on the show. We talked a lot about masculinity and the masculinity crisis and the way that men have been completely demonized over the last, say, 20 years. But you can't talk about it. We cannot talk about it, because anytime we try to, at least on the left, it's, oh, you're a white, straight white male. Nothing you say matters. It's your privilege. Check your privilege. Check your privilege. Oh, there's a black woman talking. Listen to her. It doesn't matter what she's saying. She's a black woman. Listen to her. And then they're shocked that white men are turning away in fucking droves. Nobody. The few that's left are basically just simps and cucks and you know, masochists, suckers for punishment. But the fact of the matter is, and it all comes down to one of my overall thesis statements about this current state of the political left is just identity politics run amok. And as far as how identity works, if you are a man, even worse if you're a straight man, even worse if you're a straight white man, you essentially have no voice. And who would join a political party or support one where they have absolutely no voice, not even just ignored, but actively told to shut the fuck up, go sit in the corner, listen, learn. And even if if you might
add Christian to that, if you want to make it even worse, make it a white Christian straight men, no voice in the political party of the Democrats. You're going to be blamed for everything that's wrong with the US. You're not only do you not have a voice, but you're the problem. You're the number one problem that they're facing, right?
Yes, that's right. And that's, I mean, there's only so much time. If you eventually just beat people over the head with a club again and again and again, only the masochists and simps are going to be left, and there just aren't that many of us. That's a huge reason why I left. You know, one of the things we've talked about a lot on this podcast is how important it is to get away from that shit, to get to a point where what matters is the words that you were saying. Assess every single statement or idea on its own merits. Who the fuck cares who it comes from? And what happens when you get away from that and you get to the point where the only thing that's worth listening to depends on the identity of the person saying it? You essentially get what we see right now. You get a political left in absolute shambles. You get the Democratic Party who cannot win right now. They cannot win. If they don't do, the Democrat Party is in serious trouble because they cannot win. If you're even remotely intuitive about, you know, culture and the way the winds are blowing right now, you know that stuff is on the way out. DEI, identity politics, all that stuff, all that nonsense is on the way out, and the backlash has just started, and it is only going to pick up steam. We're talking a secular trend here, probably 10, 15, 20 years. And the Democratic Party, unless they not just step away from it. They need to actively disavow it. They need to go the opposite direction aggressively. Until they do that, they cannot win. And the problem with the Democratic Party is they can't do that. That they are still so beholden to the far left woke idiots on the left. They can't walk away from it. And I don't know why they think they can't. They can. Of course they can. I mean, who cares? What you're really doing is advocating for the 1%, the 5% of weirdos in society that give a shit about this stuff. You know, we talked yesterday about 80-20 issues. Mm-hmm. If you find yourself on the 20% side of an 80-20 issue again and again and again, of course what's going to happen is what we see happening. You're shut out of politics. And even if you believe in that shit, even if you think that's a good thing, which I absolutely do not, I think it's entirely a bad thing. Even if you believe in it, you still probably want Democrats to have a say. What good do your what good are your purity tests? What good are your priorities if your party is completely shut out of any influential or persuasive position in the body politic? Like, how does that help you at all? It doesn't. And Fetterman seems to be the one guy who's really sort of speaking up for it. I think we've talked several times, but we've talked several about, you know, how there's just such a need for any politician to come out and just stop with the politicking, just have principles and stand by them. Most people probably don't care what those principles even are. There's a lot of Donald Trump supporters who probably are shocked that they support him and probably don't even support a lot of his official policies. However, what they like is a guy who just says what he means and means what he says and doesn't give a shit about what the latest focus groups have told you people believe, who are not trying to thread a needle so tight that it simply can't be threaded. And I think John Fetterman is the only politician on the left who's even close to that mold right now. And like you said, he has the potential to be a very important figure over the next 5 to 10 years, because the left and the Democratic Party need to be rebuilt completely. We need to tear that shit to the motherfucking ground, and we need to start building it back up piece by piece. That means you take something. Okay, is this good? Gay rights. Yeah, that's a good thing. What's this? DEI? Hit the bricks, son. We need to look at every single piece, and we need to keep what's good and get rid of what's bad. And there's a whole lot of bad right now. And someone's going to have to lead that. And Fetterman, I mean, if he plays his cards right, if he's smart, he could be the guy to do it. And if he's real smart, he could work that into the Oval Office someday. He might need to get a suit, not a hoodie that looks like a suit.
Maybe not. But, maybe not actually. Maybe not. It's one. It's one of those things that it will vary. At this point, it's going to depend on the Democrat Party if they're ready to listen to a guy like Fetterman. Do they want to listen to him or not? Because no matter what, he's going to continue saying what he's saying. So he's going to build political capital on himself. Like he does not need the Democrat Party to back him up. He's already elected. People reach out to him. That's one I would like to talk to this guy. So he has a lot of political
Imagine if we got
power.
Him on the show.
Oh, it's a matter of time, bro. Just give me enough time. They will happen. I'm not worried about that.
This.
But the point is that you look at a guy like him that I disliked a few months back, and he's had the balls to actually somewhat address what the real problems are. He's showing what the real problems are. He hasn't addressed them yet. But I think it will have to start with one thing. A guy like him will have to stand up and say, men, I am sorry. I am sorry that I let a political party like the Democrats tell you in one ear that we care about the feelings of everybody, how we want to be inclusive, yet we have blamed you for every single problem this society face. And the truth and the matter is that it is men that build this society. If it wasn't for men, this society would not exist. This is what men do. We build shit, we make it workable, and we fucking secure it. Why? Because we care about our women and our children. We want them to live in a safe as possible place.
Yeah.
Yet, the same women that we work shitty fucking jobs to support are telling us what a man is, are telling us that our masculinity is toxic, while forgetting that if it wasn't for us, they would not live the way that they're living right now. One of the mistakes, though, that Fetterman is making, he's making it about race. This is something he needs to be very careful about, because that's one of the problems that the Democrats have been playing for a long time.
What was the argument there? You mean just when he's talking about white
He
people?
said white men.
Okay.
Not white people. He said white men. And where he's mistaken is, if you look at the exit polls, it is not white men that voted for Trump. It is men that voted for Trump. They were black, they were Hispanic, they were white, they were Asian. It did not matter.
And they tried desperately to shame them, eh? Obama, Kamala, they tried so hard to shame black men.
100%. So yet black men are only 10% of the men in the US, right? The black population is about 10%. You look at Spanish descent, they're more like 30-35%. So the thing is, they need to stop playing the race game. They need to start playing the race card. It's not about white men. It was about men. Men are tired of being told by women what a man is. So, but once again, like
I think
we
women
spoke
would
about
be
last Friday,
rightly, they would push back.
No, but like we said Friday, men need to take their proper place. Men needs to stop listening to what women are telling them a man should be, and just be a fucking man. And that's what they did during this election. They said, screw you, what you think. We're tired of you telling us what we are supposed to be, and we will vote for somebody that seems to prone masculinity instead of shaming it. The other thing that Fetterman needs to be very careful about, and he needs to address it, he called it migration. Democrats did not migrate from the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party went so far fucking left that they left Democrats in the middle with nobody. But that's my point. Why the fuck do you think this podcast is called The Political Orphans? We did not migrate. People like you did not migrate. We are still somewhere in the middle, and we're like, what the fuck is happening to the party I once supported? This is what happened. But again, Fetterman, I understand what he's saying in grand, like if you look at the grand scheme of things, if you take it from a high level, I get it. But he needs a guy like me to show up and show him, bro, you're right, but you need but you need to dig into this. If you want to reform the Democrat Party, grow a fucking pair of balls and call it. Because right now, he's just touching on some of the issues, but he's not addressing them yet. But I hope that somebody, what I mean by somebody like me, is just somebody that can look at this and say, bro, stop the bullshit. You need to stop. Just fucking do it. If you want me to be that guy, bro, I'll take the money. No problem. I'll show you how to be a fucking man and speak about it. But you know what I'm saying? It's just, I like what he's saying, but it needs to get taken even further. And he's going to need to start calling out people from his own party, because right now he hasn't started doing this. And you know, the next video we're talking about would be the perfect person that he needs to call out, that he needs to start saying, no, this is bullshit. This needs to fucking stop. This is why we lost. We don't want to repeat the same mistake over and over again, because as you've said multiple times, they fucked themselves out of probably 8 years now. How long is it going to take before the pendulum starts swinging back left again? It's going to take a while. So they better start swinging. And
essentially,
towards
that's
going
to depend on the right. That's going to depend on the right. If the right is smart and doesn't overplay their hand, they can hang on to this for 10, 15, 20 years. If they go gangbusters,
they're going to force the left. They're going to force the left to come in the middle to join them there. That's what's going to happen. But I don't know that it's going to, I don't know if that's going to happen, but they have the power to swing it back just to the middle right. Then the Democrats will have to come play the middle left like they used to play. because that's where the two parties should be, right?
Yeah. And
middle right should be the Republican, middle left should be the Democrats. As we said, the 10% on each side, fuck them. 80% somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
That's where they should play.
Well, I mean, essentially, you know, and I think this is what we've talked about again on this podcast. There's a market out there for that. You know, we've talked again about 80-20 issues. I think you could look at society as an 80-20 issue right now. That is the way things are. And we've had, you know, the 20, I guess it's 60, 20, 60, and 20. The lunatics 20% on either side have been dictating to the rest of us for a long time now. Decades, at least. It's been a long time since the adults were in the room. And I think we both think there's a will, there's a desire to get back to that. And Fetterman talking about what he's talking about. I mean, like you said, I'm actually gonna, again, I'd like to see it play out. I think, like you said, he's got a lot of work to do, but I think I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, and I think he knows that he does. This is just his first shot across the bow. He can't come out swinging too hard. Just the fact that he's even talking about white men in any context other than that they are the problem is revolutionary for the Democrats. You know what I mean? I mean, there's still a lot of them on the left who think that the reason they lost is they weren't far left enough. And it's how can you be so stupid? But of course they are. You know, there's people who, and again, I've heard people talk about Kamala's loss. They're like, well, she never talked about trans stuff. She never talked about DEI.
That was not the problem.
And it's just, it's such a purposely naive, short-sighted way to look at it. No, she didn't need to. Everybody knew what she stood for. Everyone knows what the Democrats stand for. That's why it is not enough for the Democrats to just stop talking about it, to stop pushing it. They need to come out aggressively, and they need to start actively, like you said, either apologizing to groups that they have demonized and shut out, or just saying we were wrong. You know, we were wrong. We got it wrong. And because they did, there's just no other way to put it. Just get back to bread and butter issues. Get back to common sense. Common sense still is common. It just is no longer common on the left. It actually won't be hard to get to the common sense position on a lot of the issues. They just have to stop listening to the activists that have infiltrated the entire party and are now in massively overrepresented positions of influence and power within the apparatus of the Democratic Party, and not even just the Democratic Party, but the modern political left. So we're talking about media, we're talking about NGOs, we are talking about institutions, even like the police. You know, in the States, it isn't too bad, but if you look at the, you know, I get this is a rabbit hole I don't want to go down, but the police in the UK are essentially woke enforcers right now. They're going around arresting people for thought crimes. There are people in jail for things they said. Yeah, there are people in jail in the UK for things they've said on Twitter, and they weren't even like we're not even talking about like calls to violence. We're talking about like questioning immigration. You know what I mean? We're talking about, it's real 1984 shit over there, and they have their, I don't know how they get out of that mess. That's, I mean, good luck to you, but it isn't that bad here yet. Not even in Canada. It isn't that bad here yet. The police are still, broadly speaking, professional. They're not there to arrest people for thought crimes. And I'm keeping an eye, like the guy who did the book burning, the Quran book burning, he got arrested and got charged with inciting. That's absolute bullshit. We cannot have blasphemy laws in the West. And again, this is a whole other rabbit hole. We're not going to go down it right now, but
so stop going down it then.
Yeah, I guess I should dig myself out. But we should talk about that. But if I was in the UK, I would be out there burning the Quran. I guarantee you. Not even because I give a shit. I don't really give a shit to one way or the other.
Stop going down that rabbit hole. Stop.
If someone got arrested for burning the Bible, I'd be out there burning the Bible. All right, that's it.
So
that's it.
All I wanted to say to finish the point, but hold on. There's one thing I wanted to finish with Fetterman, and I think he needs to push it. Like he's going to build to it. He's not an idiot, obviously, but he needs to not only apologize, because if you look at the AA, it's always that, right? It starts by you acknowledge that you have a problem, and then Once you acknowledge what the problem is, you start identifying what the problem is, and then you start apologizing to people. You have to. This is what they need to do it. But one of the things that he needs to also identify, though, are the problems or the good things that Trump is currently doing or will do in the future. They're non-partisan issues, like men being kicked out of women's sports. If Fetterman was smart, he would praise Trump for doing this, because this has nothing to do with Republican versus Democrat. This is non-partisan. This is just beautiful common sense to say, you were born with a dick, you play with other dicks. Oh shit, that sounded gay. You play with other people of your own gender, of your own sex. But you know what I'm saying, right? It's other guys.
That's Nico's life philosophy, actually. I was born with a dick. I play with other dicks.
Yeah, well, that sounded gay, but I'm French. Once again, it's all good. But you know what I'm saying? He should have the balls.
I do know.
He should have the balls to not only admit wrong, but start showing that, you know what Trump is doing right now, I agree with. Disagree with him when you disagree with him. This is where your party line is, and call out the people on your side like this. Perfect. I think this is the perfect time to just show. Hold on. Jason said earlier that there shouldn't be true leftists. There shouldn't be any true leftists that are anti-war free speech. No true leftist anti-war free speech should call the DNC left. I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah.
No leftist supports the genocide in Gaza. No leftist would give millions to pro-life candidates to get elected because they have a D next to their name. And you know what? This is another thing. The pro-life portion, I would have to see it, because most leftists I've ever seen are definitely not pro-life. They're definitely pro-choice, which again I disagree with. Conversation for another day. But
no, I think that's what Jason's saying is they wouldn't be giving millions to a pro-life candidate.
No, but that's exactly what I'm saying too. I agree. I totally agree. This is one of those, this is one of those barriers that those are one of the things that the left and the right will probably never agree on. And it's okay. It's one of those issues that are in the 20% of issues.
In my opinion, that's a good issue. Yep.
But this is ideology. This is morality that is completely different from one side to the other. And this is not the reason why people left. The people didn't vote Democrat in the last one, because even Trump recognized that and stopped pushing the pro-life message, because I don't think he's pro-life no matter what. He just needed to say a few things because a lot of his bases.
Yeah.
But I agree with Jason, and of course there's going to be a dick comment. So why do you hate dick so much? First women, now this. You know what's messed up is that continue saying that I hate women and I hate dicks. I might fall in love with a dude with a penis, with a woman with a penis. Fuck.
Nico's just been waiting for this opportunity. You forced me into it. I guess I'll just fall in love with a dude.
It's only one dick. It's only one dick. Only one dick. Man, for the people that never watched this show before, you are joining us on a really fucked up episode. It's just that this is an ongoing joke that we talk about every single fucking episode. And I think it started with
Jason's a friend of the show. He's on every Wednesday with us.
No, but the dick talk started with the BBM. That was the first episode. We talked about big black microphones, and it has never stopped ever since then. So there's been a dick joke after a dick joke. So if you're easily offended, you might not like this show.
This isn't it.
But if you like penises, this is your place, bro. I guess.
Our penis jokes.
Yep. Let's switch to the second one, because this to me, the person that I was talking about that Fetterman should start calling out is people like her. And I think you guys will agree.
Yes.
Human beings, but they are also assets to the United States of America. Now, when I move to the economic case, I want to say first that yes, it is fraught, because it is painful to see sometimes people only talk about the economic case, because we're more than just a labor force. We're more than just a people to be exploited. But let's be clear, the people who are voting in this way oftentimes don't respond to a case of compassion and humanity. And so if you want to be hard-nosed about it, understand that America's immigration force and our community of immigrants, including and especially the millions of undocumented people in this country, are why America has prospered, especially why we survived the COVID-19 pandemic. And for all of the people who cast a vote based on grocery prices and inflation, if you think your groceries are expensive now, wait until the farms are empty. If you think houses are expensive now, wait until there's no one building them. Understand the consequences of what this means. Because for America to not accept immigrants is the definition of cutting off your nose to spite your face. These are human.
So, there's so much gold into what she said, as in why the Democrat Party's lost. There's so much gold that Fetterman should address in this, because this is everything that she said there was incorrect. She has no clue what the fuck she's talking about, and she's still pandering to the woke left when okay, hold on, even before, because this is pretty funny. You guys don't know Jason. Jason is a very relaxed guy. He's a very chill guy, but it seems that the videos I choose to show really have a way to piss him off, and I fucking love it. Absolutely love it. Oh God, shut up. Grocery were up 22% before Trump even hit the office. This asshat thinks Trump did this in 3 weeks. Oh, the inflation is because of Trump since 2016. From 2016 to 2020, this is who they're blaming, not word salad and Sleepy Joe. It's not their fault. Don't worry about it. But I agree with you, man. And this is what's funny about this. But
it's funny how they think there's like a knob in the Oval Office that's like eggs, grocery, like, there's supply chains out there. It takes time. Even if everything Trump did was right in that regard, it would still take time. Probably take 6 months before you're going to see it.
They're not even talking about how many eggs, how many chickens were destroyed in the U.S. because of the bird flu. There's hundreds of thousands of chicken that were destroyed. You don't think that has an impact? Like, it's like gas. Everything impact gas, right? Fucking political decision will impact gas. So when you listen to her, there's so much bullshit that comes out of her mouth that Fetterman needs to start calling her out. She needs to start saying that, listen, you have no clue what you're talking about. This is exactly why you guys lost. And tell me if that's what you're hearing, because she said things like, if you think that your groceries or the price of your house are expensive right now, wait until those people left. She's basically sounding like slave owners back in the 1800s. No, if you remove our slaves, cotton prices are going to go through the roof.
And it's probably on one hand correct, but that doesn't make it right. Like, that would not be a reason to not free the slaves. And when I hear her talking, it sounds like a bit like she's telling on herself. Like when she's saying. She's saying, oh, well, this country would not be where it is without illegal immigrants. Like, well, yeah, the South wouldn't have been what it was without slaves either. Like, the fact that you're saying, like, yes, the fact that you were able to exploit a segment of the population who has no rights and has no recourse, and exploit them for slave labor and depress wages that keeps wages low. Yeah, that probably is responsible for the way America is right now, but that's not a good thing. That's not.
Hold on. Let's piss them off even more. Let's remind people that Abraham Lincoln, the person that is responsible for freeing the slaves, was the first Republican. This is the irony in her statement, is that Democrats were the one that wanted to keep slaves. It's Republicans that freed them. Her comment is so ironic that you're repeating exactly what the Democrats said Just you're saying it today with different services. You're calling it building houses, you're calling it groceries, but at the end of the day, you're still, as you said, taking advantage of people that are illegal immigrants. They're only getting low paying jobs because that's the only job that they can be picked for. And you're going to blame us. You're going to blame people that want to have a legal immigration for the prices of goods, when it's the corporations that hired those people that are not wanting to pay a livable wage. Yet the Democrats are always complaining that minimum wage should be higher because it's not a livable wage. The stupidity that comes out of her mouth. One day she says one thing, the other day she says the complete opposite. And it never seems to occur to her that she is debating herself and making her look dumb. Like, I don't think she realizes how stupid she comes off of. I don't think she realizes
it definitely sounds weird for a Democrat who typically, you know, especially AOC herself, is often talking about livable wage. You know, remember the big push to $15 an hour. There's a big reason why wages are so low is because there's a massive workforce in the United States that does not have any rights because they're working under the table, and they can be easily exploited. I mean, it's just common economics. If you are, let's say, a farmer and you need 50 people to pick your crops, normally you're going to have to hire, you know, in a country where, let's say, there was no illegal immigrants, you're going to have to hire locals, and you're going to have to pay them, you know, the EI benefits or whatever it is that like employees are responsible for paying employees that are officially on the books. You're going to have to pay them much higher wage. But if those 50 jobs are held by illegal immigrants who you don't have any restrictions, you can pay them whatever you want. You can pay them lower the minimum wage. You don't have to pay EI. And then multiply that one farmer by 1 million or 5 million or however many people are out there doing this. Of course, that is going to have a massively depressive effect on wages. And again, even if even if you want to be charitable with her interpretation and say, yes, illegal immigrants, of course, those are people. Those are real people. And I'm sure lots of them have done very nice and good things for the United States. The fact of the matter is that is not a reason to say borders don't matter. Borders don't, like, you either have, I mean, I guess I sound like a right winger now, but this should not be partisan. You either have borders or you don't. It's okay. It is completely okay to say it is to have borders and to not let people in. You know, you have to. Of course, the United States is always going to be an immigrant nation, but like they have to administer that. They have to decide how many people to let in and which people to let in. That is just how immigrant policy goes. If you have a massive open door on your southern border that allows anyone to come in who wants in, you are essentially saying you do not have an immigration policy. And that should not be partisan. That has nothing to do with being racist or being against immigrants. It's just common sense, sane policy. You know, I'm a firm believer in immigration, but it has to be, you know, I've said it several times here. I think being, you know, the United States and Canada being two of the few countries in the world that people actually want to go to is a massive advantage. But you're throwing that advantage out the window when you just open your door to whoever wants in, because it isn't broadly speaking, it's the people who don't have anything to offer. And I'm not trying to demonize them. I understand why, if you don't have any education and you're from a poor country, I understand why you would want to come to the United States. But the fact of the matter is, when millions of those people come, it hurts the United States. You know, and the United States has to be concerned first and foremost with the citizens of its own country. That should not all be a controversial statement. And I don't know how we got to a place where it is. So I mean, the thing she said is ridiculous. Like that, you know, it's just nonsense to pretend that millions and millions and millions of uneducated immigrants who can be easily exploited and paid subsistence level wages or below subsistence level wages, to say that is not going to have a massively negative effect on the country and wages in the country is just completely asinine. And idiotic to the point where it's hard to take anything else you're saying seriously. But even if you gave her the most enormous benefit of the doubt in the world and said that all these people were only positive effects, the fact of the matter is laws still have to mean something. And if you came in the country illegally and you end up getting kicked out or rounded up, then you really have no one else to blame but yourself, and that shouldn't be controversial. Now, do I think there's a role for Donald Trump to maybe use some discretion? Of course I do. If I heard that they're stopping school buses and dragging kids off on their way to school. That's just not good politics. That's not good optics. I don't think you should do those things, and I don't think that's I won't even say morally right, because the argument could be, well, they shouldn't be here, and okay, whatever. Personally, I don't think it's morally right to do that. But the way I see it, there's plenty.
But it wasn't morally right
low hanging fruit
there either.
No,
it's egg before the chicken or chicken before the egg.
I don't think
it's
laws necessarily equal morals.
No, I agree.
I mean, it's definitely a conversation that we'll have in the future. But I'm just going to wrap up with this. I think there's a ton of low-hanging fruit, and I think the Trump administration should focus on that. And by low-hanging fruit, I mean, you're criminals, and then there's all kinds of people that are just and then start rating the low-paying jobs where they're being, on some level, you're doing them a favor because they're just being exploited here. But you also have to worry about wages in your country for the rest of the 300 million Americans, 330 million, however many there are. And AOC can complain all she wants, but like the tide has turned on this. People are just sick of it. And if they wanted to have a place at the table, they should not have just advocated for open borders the last 10, 20, 30 years the way that they have.
And the only thing I would add to what you said is I spent time in Arizona, I spent time in Texas, and I was at the border. Like, we were in Yuma, Arizona, which is literally you can walk the border of Mexico. Same thing when we were in Texas, although on that it's Juarez, so you don't want to necessarily go there by feet. But the point is that Juarez, it is not a nice place. It's one of the place they bring a lot of drugs and illegals through, right? That in Arizona. But what I'm trying to say is, when we were down there, because we spent months down there, we would see day workers. They're Mexicans. They come from Mexico. It's the funniest thing. You see buses with portable potties on the back. And I was always, what the fuck are they doing? So basically, those buses, they're like, imagine school buses, but they're dark. They're not yellow. They leave Mexico in the morning. It's filled with workers. They have special permits to come here to pick the fruits, to do those low-hanging jobs that AOC's talking about. But this is going on right now. So just allow more of them to come in. But they're already doing that. That's the thing. This is what is so interesting. It's so full of shit what she's saying, because she is just playing identity politics, and she's hoping that it's going to work like we're in 2022. But those times have changed, and she can't change, because the only reason she got elected is because of that. She is the perfect example of a DEI hire. That is her. So she has nothing else to say than to play that card, because there's nothing else. She is not a very intelligent person. But this is what Fetterman needs to start calling. He needs to start identifying. If he's really serious about him wanting to change the Democrat Party back to a place where common sense actually exists again, he's going to need to start talking about these women, and just these women and men. Obviously, it just turns out that right now it's AOC. But he's going to start identifying those men and women and say, no more. Like, this needs to stop, because this is not true. And she doesn't even use the word illegal immigrant. She calls them undocumented because it sounds better. And at the end, she doesn't even call them illegal immigrants, nor does she call them undocumented. She calls them just immigrants. But this is, I'll finish on this, because this is a video that I saw years ago, but this is exactly how AOC sounded except just not as bad. But I don't know if you remember, Ozzy Osbourne, right? His daughter, like Kelly Osbourne. Check this out. I just saw that.
Trump is a lightning rod, even when he's not there. Look what happened on The View.
This is from years ago when he was president.
There are a lot of Latinos here in this country that do agree that the immigration problem is a problem, and it does need to be addressed, and it does need to be fixed.
Interesting.
But making those comments, those racist comments, do not help.
And if you kick every Latino out of this country, then who is going to be cleaning your toilet, Donald Trump?
Oh.
I love it. The other, I should have let it go because the girl is just like, they're looking at her like, what the fuck did you just say? It's like, no, but this is what the AOC,
because everyone knows the only thing Hispanics are good for is cleaning toilets.
But that's basically what AOC is saying. Like, her comment sounds as retarded as this, and she sounds like the slave owners from the 1800s claiming that, just using the argument that your cotton wigs, your powdered wigs, and your cotton shirts are going to be so much more expensive now.
Through the roof.
So,
and they probably were, but that wasn't an excuse, not a good excuse not to do it either.
Nope. So it's Friday. Do you want to tap yourself on the back first, or do you want something that's a bit more funny first? You pick. Dealer's choice.
Why don't we get the funny thing? I'm going to start stretching so I don't strain myself from patting myself on the back so much.
But I did not think this is what's going to happen, because I did not think I would say that Fetterman needs to start calling out his own party. But this is somebody else that Fetterman needs to start calling. Man, this is an interesting way it worked out. But listen to this video. This is it happened yesterday on the CNN panel, but it's fucking hilarious. Listen to this.
I do not have the same opportunity as you. I know I don't.
And you know
and
that
I know
too.
Let's go.
And you know that.
Let me just tell you about me.
I'm gonna let you finish, but I want to answer this.
I'm not talking about how you feel. I'm talking about how I feel. Me, a black woman in this country.
But not in this city.
And I will run. And if you want
to
to
New Yorker, not in this city. You cannot say that. You can't say that in this city. I'm
not talking about New York. I'm talking about actually right here. I got a law degree, a master's, and 2 bachelors. Probably more education than all y'all added up together at this table, right? And I have always been the least paid person on payroll at every institution I have worked in. And it's not because...
Even in the White House?
Even in the White House.
Well, whose fault is that? I don't think you worked for George W. or Trump.
Well, guess wasn't what happened when I was there. DEI.
So, let me put some perspective.
A lot to unpack there.
There's not. That's the thing. If you don't know who that woman is and you don't know who she's worked for, and this is what the New Yorker was saying. I don't know the name of the guy, but that's what he was pointing out. Is for 15 years she's worked for Democrat parties. She's worked for the 2 godfathers of DEI, Obama and Biden. This is who. So she's basically praising how awesome DEI is while working for people that did not pay her. How ironic is, like, she literally destroyed her. I don't remember what the name of the guy is right next to her that told to the New Yorker, he's like, no, let her speak.
Scott
Jennings?
Yes,
it is Scott Jennings. I absolutely enjoy that guy so much on the CNN panel. He's always calling them out, but super intelligent wise, right? I love the way he does it. And it seems like he gave her the space. He's just like, hey, bro, shut the fuck up. You don't need to say anything here. She's going to fucking destroy her own argument. Let her space. But this is exactly what Democrat women sounds like.
Sun Tzu said, never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake.
But that woman there sounds like Democrat women to masculine men. Like, I look at the Democrat Party and she represents exactly what I've come used to hearing. And it's a woman claiming that she's more intelligent than everybody else because she has more education.
By dint of her identity too, right? By dint of her identity and her education.
100%. By praising how intelligent she is, by speaking like she's 14 years old. Did you hear her in the background? As she's talking, she's fucking clapping. And I was there when DEI was there.
That whole attitude is just, it's such.
Like, ask yourself this. Ask yourself this. Like, screw DEI, screw everything she said. Just look at the attitude that she displayed. Would you hire that woman? Never. I had employees in the past. I would never touch a woman like that with a 10-foot pole for a job.
You found out why you get paid less.
And it ain't your education. It ain't because you're black. It ain't because you're a woman. It's because you have a fucking attitude problem. Plain and fucking simple.
I think,
but it's funny.
Yeah,
but it is funny. It is hilarious. Just give her enough space, she'll destroy her own argument.
Well, I mean, it's kind of what we were talking about back a few minutes ago with Fetterman, and I was saying, like, a lot of it is just the attitude of we really have to get away from identity politics. And Fetterman was using, like, white men have been demonized. They don't have a voice at the table, and of course you're going to lose people if you don't give them a voice. But just she kind of personifies that whole attitude. A black woman is speaking, therefore what I have to say is inherently more important than what you have to say. And that's just it's just utter bullshit. The left, if it's gonna regain relevance, it has to get to a point where every idea or voice is assessed on the merit of the idea. I don't want to go back to a place when black women did not have a voice at the table. I want everyone to. I think if anyone says, oh, this woman can't speak because she's a black woman, I'll be the first to be like, no, that's bullshit. Fuck off. But like, she's essentially doing the same thing in reverse. You can't fight discrimination on race by discriminating on race. It's just as simple as that. And so far, the Democratic Party for the last couple decades has gotten around that paradox by saying, oh, it's not discrimination if it's against white men. And that's just bullshit. It's not true. It's absolutely, like, unless you want to change the definition of discrimination, but then we're just talking about something completely different. If we're talking about discrimination being discriminating someone against someone on their immutable traits, that's wrong, no matter how you look at it. And I take with a grain of salt what she said, because I'm thinking, okay, did you actually go around to everyone else and ask how much they made and then compare that with them? So right away, I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, I don't know if how true this is, but let's just assume it's true. I mean, like you said, she worked for the Biden and Obama administration, so take it up with them. Because, clearly that is the problem. I know, like, people like me and people like you are saying meritocracy is what matters. And if she is as smart as she seems to believe that she is, then she should have no problems getting to a place where she's getting paid just as much as everybody else. I actually find it a little hard to believe in the Obama and Biden administration that they were paying her less than anyone else. But let's just let's give her the benefit of the doubt and assume that it's true. Clearly DEI isn't working. So, like, what is your complaint? Because it clearly is not doing the things that you say that it's going to do. But a lot of it just seems to be her entitled attitude. This idea that all this education entitles you to what you're saying is more important, or the color of your skin, or any of your immutable traits makes what you have to say more important. I mean, that is, if the Democrats don't push back hard on exactly the attitude that was on display there, then they will never get back to relevance. And a lot of it, yes, some of it's policies, but a lot of it is just culture. The fact of the matter is that woman, that person was, she's been in the Democratic Party for the last 20 years. She's well aware of the culture. She knows she can speak like that. And it will be fine, and she won't get pushed back on. I guarantee you, there's no white Democrat who thinks they can speak like that. You know what I mean? And this is part of the culture that the political left has created. Now, if you like that culture, if you think that's the way to go, to sideline people or remove their voice, or take away their seat at the table based on their immutable traits or their skin color, if you think that's okay, fill your boots. I mean, you're going the right way about it. But I'm telling you, you've lost. This is why the Democratic Party is lost so bad, and why they're probably going to be out of power for a generation or more. So you can sit there with your purity test and feel good about yourself, and have, you know, your round tables where all your preferred identity groups get to speak while your non-preferred identity groups are told to shut the fuck up. That's fine if that's what you want. But if you actually want political power, if you actually want to have a voice at the table, if you actually want to have a chance to enact your policies, that shit has to die, and it needs to die yesterday. It is the number one reason why people are leaving the left and the Dems in droves. And, you know, people like me and Jason are, you know, former left. I guess I still consider myself a lefty and a progressive, but certainly not. It's hard to identify as such the way that the modern political left is. Now, I'm still trying to work within the left to reform it. I don't know how successful that's going to be, but I think the next year or two will be instrumental in seeing which direction we're going to go.
So I made a video, like I often do videos like the one you're seeing there. I'm just making fun of people. Literally, I'm just, but this is what I wanted to show. Like this right here. That's one of my followers. She's a black woman. And she's like, just so you guys know, if you're listening to this, you're not watching the actual video. I posted a video about this morning on my Instagram, and there's one of the people that commented is a black woman. She's one of my followers. We interact all the time. Super cool girl. But basically, this is what she said. All that education didn't make you smart enough to negotiate your wages. I'm black and a nurse, and I got the salary that I asked for. I always do, because if I don't, I go somewhere else instead of settling, then crying later. And that pow, right then and there. This is exactly what she needs to understand. It's not about race. It's just about your competency. And if in an organization that promotes DEI, you're still the less paid employee, that says a lot about you, especially if you're a black woman, educated black woman. This is like you're scoring, but you're scoring all the brownie point. You're almost at the top of the echelon. If you were a lesbian and only had one leg, oh bro, that's the only thing that would have beat her on the pyramid of be a trans
lesbian woman.
But either way, I think we've beaten that horse, but I just thought it was funny. When I saw that video, I had to post about it, because I love to see somebody try to make an argument and destroy themselves.
It is funny,
but that is the left.
It is funny, but it's also relevant to what we're sort 100%. Of talking about here on a daily basis.
100%. Now, are you stretched out? Do you feel?
Oh yeah.
Do you feel?
Yeah, I'm good.
So, turns out that what Rob and I were talking about yesterday, because yesterday, if you weren't here, I don't know why you weren't here, because it was hilarious. But if you weren't here, the thing to remember is that we spoke about Trump and his new executive order banning men from women's sport. And you mentioned something that turned out that it was 100% true. You mentioned yesterday that, yes, sir, that the NCAA messed up by not actually, if we are to be exact with your words, you called them cowards. And why did you call them cowards? Because you said
I was saying
that they were waiting for them. They were waiting for somebody else to do this.
They're going to pretend like we have to do it, but they're thanking the lucky stars Trump did this because they don't want any part of it.
Yep. Turns out that they did ban trans athlete from women's sport. And turns out that what we were saying yesterday was bang on. They are just a bunch of fucking cowards. And they did not have the balls to actually do it themselves. They had to wait for the president to literally change the game for them, so now they can blame him if there's any
and that's what they'll do.
If they're,
that's what they'll do.
Oh, of course they will. Of course they will.
But
I found it
what can we
funny.
do? It was the president. I mean, he's the president. We have to do. But they are ecstatic that this decision was taken out of their hands. They understand, with the Blair White thing, with the Leah Thomas thing. They understand the actual problems here. They actually do know the difference between men and women, despite the protests to the contrary. And they just were terrified of the blowback, the far left woke blowback that would happen if they just did the right thing. And so now they can blame Donald Trump for forcing them to do the right thing, even though behind the scenes they are breathing the loudest sigh of relief you can imagine.
I will not even add to this outside. No, I'll say one thing. I hope this inspires others, like boxing associations, like fighting associations, any martial art that they can be, to follow suit. I really hope that this inspires organization, especially in the US or even around the world, to just say, we can start blaming somebody else. If you're too much of a coward to actually do it, blame Trump.
Yeah,
he'll take the blame for it. If he don't care.
Trump do it. No.
He don't care.
Just do what you got to do. Yeah.
Trump is like this right now. It's like he's taking it. He's taking the love. But if this can inspire, if what the NCAA did using Trump and probably going to it's going to blame them when there's a bunch of little pink or purple headed fatties complaining, blame Trump. Blame Trump.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add to this? Because the next video is interesting. The next video is really targeted at the people that are listening, but I want to know, because this is something I talk about all the time. I'm a martial artist, right? So I do respect but I do respect these. Oh no, we're good. Oh yeah, we'll get it. We'll go it for like 10-15 minutes and we'll call it a day. But it's just for the people out there. This is different than what we normally talk about. It's something that's close to my heart. I believe in police officers. I believe in I don't believe in defunding the police. I believe they need more help. They need to have better tools. They need to be better trained. And this video, and I always think in my mind when I see videos like those, that no matter what the police officer would have done or has done, he's in the wrong when it comes to public opinion. We're really in a place where police officers and first responders are always going to be thrown under the bus no matter what they do. And it bothers me. But if let me find the video here. I thought I had it loaded, but it looks like I don't. But it's going to take 2 seconds. So here's the video. Watch this and let's discuss what you guys think.
Oh my god. It's really cool. Yeah, he just tasered him. Didn't do shit.
Casually grabbed his glasses.
He just pulled his gun. He just pulled his fucking gun. He's got an axe. Holy fuck. Holy shit. He just pulled his fucking gun. Oh my god. Who the fuck is honking? Oh my fucking god, dude. This is insane. Yeah. He's got an axe. Oh shit.
Whoa, shit, son. Dude. I actually didn't watch the end of this video.
Yeah, he's down this time. Holy shit.
He didn't shoot him, it was taser.
What the fuck?
Oh yeah, that was a taser.
This is nuts.
Okay.
Holy shit. Oh my god.
Well, enjoy jail, buddy.
Yeah, this.
So first, as a guy, that was ex-military, explain this. For thanks for mentioning this. This is a video that was taken in Waterloo. I think it was taken yesterday because it's going viral on X right now, on every platform actually. But Waterloo,
that
Canada,
cop's taking
that's
it,
near Toronto. What do you think? What are your impressions when you look at this?
Okay, so I mean, first of all, cops clearly are not trained in any hand-to-hand combat, or he just skipped that day or something. Because there's clearly a size difference, a strength difference, but like it didn't even look like he was. I mean, you would probably be able to have a better opinion on like the martial arts or that aspect of it. Didn't look to me like he was doing anything other than just grabbing at him. I think you had asked me yesterday if I thought he should shot him, and I was like, well, what did he do? Do we know the backstory to that, by the way? What happened?
Not yet.
Okay. So
Not
let's
yet.
just assume.
Don't matter.
Okay, so
this doesn't matter.
I was thinking, I actually had not realized he had an axe. In my opinion, he should have shot him. Now, I've heard people say, well, why doesn't he shoot him on the leg? I get it. If they're trained the way that we were in the military, everything is a escalation of force. Like, you don't just like usually if you're shooting someone, you're doing it. Well, in the military, we're shooting to kill every single time. I don't know if cops are trained differently. I don't know if they're trained to shoot in the leg first. Probably I would have done a warning shot like that. Like right away, taking your gun out, that is an escalation of force. If that doesn't stop, warning shot, second escalating of force. But that third one, that got to be center of mass right in his chest. If he's coming at you with an axe, with a potentially lethal weapon. Now that said, and I'll leave it mostly to you to talk to like what would have happened if he shot him, because I'm pretty sure that's where you're going with it. Kind of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. I think, in my opinion, that would have been a righteous shot, as they say. I think that if someone's walking towards them with an axe, a lethal weapon, you can't give that guy more than 3 or 4 feet, because once he's in that perimeter, it's going to be real quick shot. And I can't imagine he would have gotten in any trouble. The guy's walking towards him with an axe. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know. It was hilarious, when he just casually picks his glasses up. But I would have shot him, honestly. But I'm curious to see. Well, I guess I think I know what you'll say, but I'll throw it over to you.
I'll re-put the video because I want people to understand like I'll cut the sound because the sound's not relevant, but there's a few things that are very problematic. So if you're seeing here, he has what we call full mount. So he's literally, his ass is on the other guy's hip. If you know what you're doing there, this is one of the most advantageous situation in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's dangerous if you're in a real life situation.
It should have been over by this point, is what you're saying.
It's a place you should never be with a suspect, plain and simple, because most people have knives. For all you know, he has a gun. When you're so close like that, for me, he's trying to handle his hands, but that dude is not a small guy. The guy that's on the ground, when he gets up, he is thick. He's a big boy. It's a matter of him doing this. Literally, you do this, you're not holding my hand anymore. I grab a knife and I stab you 40 times in the stomach. You're peeing blood everywhere. You're done. You're too close to comfort. This has no advantage, especially that clearly he doesn't know what he's doing. But you know, the part that, look at this, he takes his taser out. Actually, no, the guy's head is on the taser. Like the fucking taser, the police officer's taser is already on the ground under the guy's head. See how he moves? He picks it back up. Just that. What the fuck are you doing? How is your taser? How did you? I didn't notice that until now because I just watched it normal speed. But how insane is that? That his taser's on the ground. And
did the guy take it? I wonder if the guy took his taser out.
We don't know. But see, even so, the guy can simply just this in jiu-jitsu. What he's doing right now is the biggest mistake. You give me your back like this. This is a rear naked choke right there. You're doing some sleepies on the ground. He literally rolls with him. Up, done. It's done. He could have finished. The police officer, if he was trained, could have finished the altercation right there. Would have been done. Rear naked choke. Squeeze for about 5 seconds. Big boy sleeping. He's already on his stomach. Put the handcuffs on. we're done. We'll sit on him until he wakes up. Then we'll put him in the car. But that just shows how untrained those guys are. But again, the guy is simply gets back up. Police officer does nothing, puts his glasses back on. Where's the police officer? He runs away from him. And then he lets him create space, go to his truck, pick up a machete or an axe, sorry. But what's interesting is that he's stepping away. He's stepping away, and then the police officer just steps away. But do you know that most police officers don't carry one in the chamber? They carry with an empty chamber, right? And not only that, but they're supposed to have their safety on. So depending on the gun that they're using, if it's a Glock, there's no safety on the Glock, right? It's all on the trigger pull. Trigger pull's harder, but there's no safety. But chances are there's no bullet in that fucking chamber right now, because I did not see him cock it.
You don't think he racked one in the chamber?
Well, the problem is that I've done training back in the days with a SWAT agent. He is the one that was teaching in Ontario in the college that I went to. He taught police officers in the making how to fight hand-to-hand combat. And he was teaching that within 10 meters of a suspect, don't even take your gun out, because the suspect, if he charges you, you won't have time to pull it out, remove the lock mechanism on your holster, take your gun out, remove the safety, rack, present, and start shooting. You don't have time within 10 meters. So that guy, I guarantee you, has not been trained properly. He's probably the first time in his life he needs to pull a gun on somebody. So clearly he's not ready for this. You can see it just by look at the way he's reacting. Who the fuck steps away from a guy that's charging you with, no, pop, 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 2, center mass, done. Yeah. This was deadly force that the guy tried to use on him. And for the people out there that always say you shot him in the leg, fucker, you've never fucking shot anything in your life. You know how hard it is to shoot a moving target center mass? You're not going to start aiming at legs.
You can't be that precise.
Not only can you not be that precise, but what happens if you shoot somebody in the leg, you just graze him, it ricochets on the ground, kills a pedestrian, kills somebody that's close by. You have to be responsible for 100% of your bullets. Always know what's in the back of what you're aiming at. You need to be aware at what you're shooting. And it's that's right. You look at this, and to me, it's insane. And this is a woke thing. The reason I wanted to bring this up is this is one of those places where the left disagrees with the right, at least right now. A lot of the left have been calling for defunding the police. The police shouldn't be defunded. They should be given more money, more training, more police officers, because this type of behavior is fucking dangerous. The way he reacted is so wrong, so wrong. And I don't even blame the guy, because I know he doesn't have the training. You can tell. He was given the 2 best positions you could ever dream of on the ground. Let him go. Let him go. Let the guy back up. And somehow his taser was on the ground. It's just, this shows me how untrained police officers, and it is not just in the Toronto area where they're from. It is really everywhere, because you see videos like those no matter where you are in North America. And this is just sad to me. It's just fucking sad, because those police officers, like it or not, they put their lives at risk every time they leave. They do not know what they're going to be confronted by. They don't know what could happen to them. And we let them high and dry without the training that they deserve.
Yeah. Yeah, and what does Jason say? Actually, Jason brings up a good point there. I think right now, I'm a huge opponent of DEI, but I think there's a thing on the left, on the right now, where it's like anything that happens that's bad. If it was a woman in place, it's DEI. But what Jason's saying is like, no one says that about this guy. So I think the right would do well to not necessarily jump to that conclusion, because I think there are a lot of scenarios where DEI really does have direct negative effects on the performance or public safety. And I think, you don't want to sort of cry wolf on this every single time, because then people just going to tune it out.
But this has nothing to do with the. I did not bring that up because this has nothing to do.
I know that.
This is really no, but let's not make it about DEI, because that's not what it is. And nobody can blame that it was a white guy trying to kill a black guy, because there were two white people there. Both the criminal and the police officer were obviously white. This is why it's the perfect video. It has nothing to do with DEI. It has nothing to do with a race. It has nothing to do with anything else outside of a criminal that is committing a crime by charging a police officer with an axe, and a police officer that does not know how to react to it because he has never been trained properly. That is all that I'm seeing here, is a lack of training that could have been. If that guy is not capable of holding someone on their stomach underground, like he obviously displayed, I guarantee you that his shooting skills are fucking garbage. You know, that guy, if he tried to shoot him, would have probably missed, and he would have missed. And this is assuming that there was a bullet in the chamber, which I don't think there was. But that guy could have killed somebody. I'm happy that he didn't shoot him, because he didn't injure anybody. Because this was a reality that could have happened.
Yep, that's right. You want to shutter on that? That's right on, literally like 15 seconds over our target. Like this is just to show it's another non-partisan issue that should be addressed. It has nothing to do with the left, has nothing to do with the right. Those are public servant that deserves more training to be better police officer to protect regular citizens. That is it. Yep, I think cops certainly got, for sure. Like there was enough videos out there over the last 10 years that showed to me what did not look like appropriate policing. You saw videos of like cops shooting people in the back because they ran away. To know that there are definitely shitty cops out there, but I think cops, broadly speaking, certainly they took it on the chin the last 10 years as a result of sort of like woke ideology or far left ideology. I think defund the police is the stupidest slogan. Like, it's just the far left shoot themselves in the foot again and again. Like talk about an 80-20 issue. That's like a 95-5 issue. People do not want, like, even if people recognize a need for cops, you cannot just get rid of them. Criminals exist. If you want to retrain them, if you want to, give them the resources they need to do the job properly, I'm all for that. But that's literally the opposite. That's fund the police. That's not defund the police.
It's just a non-partisan issue that both sides should work together to address. And I hope Trump gets to this. I hope Trump gets to police officers, to the blue line, as they call it, and just address the first responder. Like I recorded a podcast with a guy he has a massive podcast, and that's all he talks about. It's Shield 911. If you want to hear the stories of first responders, he's the guy to go see. But that's what he shows in his content, is just how underfunded they are, how underprotected they are by their own management forces. So the people that are responsible for them will throw them on the bus all the time. And this is why they can't seem to attract any new talent, is because why would I go in a job that will automatically crucify me no matter what I do? There's no winning here. Not only can I be injured every time I leave my house, I'm going to have to work 12 to 24-hour shifts depending where I am, and I'm never going to get fucking credit for it. I'm always going to be demonized for it.
Yeah.
On that note, I think we're done. Is that it? Do you want to end it?
Yes, sir. I think that's it. No, want to thank everyone listening for coming along for another ride. It was a good time. Obviously, thanks to Jason again, friend of the show, always jumping in. Couldn't do it without his commentary. And we'll see him on Wednesday. It's always a great show when Jason's here. Other than that, I think I'm good. Everyone have a great weekend. Nico, you want to take us home?
Guys, if you like this show, please follow us at The Poly Orphans on X. If you're more of a YouTube person, we are also there. So make sure to follow us on both platforms. If you like Rob, Rob_the builder on X. And if you like my French accent, you like my pink shirts and my penis talk, you can follow me at Real Nico Lagan everywhere. I'm on every single social media platform out there. And thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. If you have anything you want to tell us, reach out. If you think there's stories we should share or talk about, please send them to us. You're making our job a lot easier if you send us content
Absolutely.
to talk about.
Absolutely.
On that note, enjoy your weekend, and we will see you Monday.
Catch you on Monday.